Hello everyone, welcome to Spotlight on Bensenville. I'm Mayor Frank Soto, and today we have a special guest with us. It's our new Congresswoman, Tammy Duckworth is here to visit with us. Well, welcome to Spotlight in Bensenville and to Bensenville.
Thank you, it's good to be back.
Well, yeah, you've been here once before,
Yeah.
at least for the show, but you've also been in town a number of times, which we're really happy that you've been with us so many times. So thank you. You've been in office since November of 2012, so how's it been so far?
It's been wonderful. It's gone by so quickly. It feels like it's only been a few months. We've gotten a lot of things done, but there's a lot more to go. So we did some national things with the defense budget and cutting some spending that happens in DOD, but you know, we still have a lot of local work to do as well.
It's the difficult times for a lot of people. I mean, the economy is recovering. It's obviously not as quickly as a lot of people would hope. We just hope this trend continues and the progress continues to be made as well.
I think the national economy is sort of supposedly is doing better, but we're just not seeing it here at home. And so I've really focused on supporting manufacturing and small businesses. I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to win the competition to bring about $75 million in federal dollars into the Chicagoland area for some technology and innovation programs with the United Laboratories. Cities all across the country competed, and we won it right here, and so we're going to get some of that money. And of course, some of the construction with Elgin O'Hare and all of that, those are federal dollars we were able to successfully bring back. But there's a lot more to be done.
I did want to talk to you about a couple of issues. One of them is, you know, you and I have met in Washington, D.C. You were gracious enough to invite me out there. We've talked about some of the concerns in the town, including what has been in the papers a little bit more frequently as as the runways go online, is the noise issues that we are dealing with the airport. Bensenville had lost over 500 homes, you know, to the acquisition of the airport land, and was in, you know, somewhat litigation mode with the airport for many years, which had been resolved. You know, Bensenville's lost a few of the cases, and you know, it was important that we resolve those issues, realize that this is an economic engine, but also move forward with the opportunity. That there is some things that are out of our control, which is we're not going to be able to stop an airport that's the second or third largest airport in the world from operating, but work with them to, and also our friends in the federal government, to be good neighbors, to be steward for the people here, to figure out ways to mitigate the level of noise, and to work around how we could do things better, more efficiently with the airport to reduce the overall levels of sound here in Bensenville. And you've been gracious to invite me over to talk about these issues, so I appreciate that.
Well, it's a real priority. I mean, people's quality of lives, you know, need to be maintained. Yes, this is an engine for the region. This is very important for our economy. But people's lives and ability to enjoy their own homes is also important. And I was just telling you earlier that just 2 weeks ago, Congressman Mike Quigley, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, and myself sat down with the FAA administrator. We feel so strongly about this and sat down and talked with him at length about you know, just a whole series of things, starting off with, let's look at what the real flight patterns are. Because if they're saying that they're not flying over some of these areas, then boy, it sure sounds like these airplanes are. So we need to figure out what the exact routes those airplanes are taking. So we asked them for an actual map overlay of every flight and where those flight tracks are. Well, we talked about getting more noise monitors into some of the areas where they have not put noise monitors because they think that they know what the noise levels are, but I think they're much higher. We need to look at that 65 decibel threshold that they've set. That's probably too high. There are folks who probably, you know, are still significantly being affected by the noise who are maybe at the 64 decibel. And then, you know, just in general, making sure that the FAA has good flight rules for the aircraft and for the pilots coming in and out. And I think that's where me being a pilot myself and having flown some of these traffic patterns really was very helpful in the meeting, because I was able to say, well, wait a minute, you can't tell me that you can't make something mandatory. I've flown under the FAA, you know, and I know that you can make it mandatory. So a lot of those conversations are something that we're continuing to have, and as we meet with the FAA in Washington, I'm certainly going to come home and let you know what we're doing as well.
Well, that would be wonderful because it is a concern. It continues to be a concern, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's only going to get worse, even if we do mitigation efforts in terms of how they allocate uses of the runways, the nighttime hours. But if that airport continues to expand in terms of flight operations, there is going to be a level of increase. Now, when certain runways go online, it actually will have a reducing effect in other areas of town because they're not going to be concentrated in some areas as much as they are now. But still, I think there are some vehicles that we could go after now, both short-term and long-term, that could be helpful for mitigating noise in this area. And you being a pilot is perfectly teed up for the type of need we have in Bensenville. You know, I was going to ask you about the public guidance letter that was issued in 2012 with by the FAA, which was changing the AIP, or the Airport Improvement Program, and that was the 65 decibels on the outside of a house, 45 decibels of noise on the inside. And the concern that we had was, you know, that by reducing the funding in that program, it's going to somewhat compromise the ability to really monitor the noise levels and provide you know, subsequent soundproofing down the road. I mean, the current soundproofing is accounted for, but in the future. And then the other concern was that it also involves not just the soundproofing, but the public interest or level of cooperation that the FAA has. I think that was removed from that program under that rule, and I was worried about that because here you're our congressperson, and this is a rule change, so it doesn't even come before you, so you can't go out there and defend us.
Right, because it's just FAA posts it, the 90-day time period or whatever it is that they're supposed to, and then it can become a rule. So, well, we can certainly express our opinion. You know, I may not be able to vote on it, but I can certainly make the FAA administrator understand my concerns and how upset we are and how this is really hurting my constituents. And you know, I'm only half joking. I'm actually very tempted to invite the FAA administrator to come out for a barbecue. Maybe we can host him in somebody's backyard who's, you know, in the under the new traffic pattern area, and then put up a noise monitor and let him tell me that it's not as noisy as I think it is.
I think there's a number of people in town that would love to host a barbecue for the people on the FAA to hear what really goes on there. And, you know, we want to work with the FAA, but we also want to look for long-term and short-term strategic opportunity there to reduce these levels. And even though they might have done it with a rule change, there's always the issue of appropriation. And that's one way that that Congress still can be helpful on that as well.
Absolutely.
I was hoping we could talk about a couple of options and what you thought, and I'll just throw out terms like wayward signs and things like that, and just tell me what you think. Is that a possible? Is that something that we should be looking at?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to take a commercial break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth in just a few minutes. Hi, I'm Village President Frank Soto. Many residents have contacted Village Hall, our administrators, and our Public Works Director, Joseph Karachi, regarding questions and concerns about the grade cross separation at Irving Park Road and York Road. The video is intended to show you some of the timelines that are involved. But once this project is complete, there's incredible benefit for the residents of Bensenville. It'll alleviate the delays that are caused by the intersection, and also will improve overall traffic flow and accessibility to Irving Park Road through Bensenville.
The York and Irving Park intersection is one of the most congested intersections in all of the Chicagoland area. We are working diligently with the Illinois Department of Transportation to try to correct this problem. Working with IDOT, we have come up with a $64 million project to try to improve businesses and our residents' flow of traffic through the area. As I mentioned, 2012 was the completion of the first bridge. We're looking at 2014 being the completion of the second bridge. After that, we'll have an intersection improvement project for the entire intersection with wider lanes, wider cross sections, safer traffic movements. This is all part of a plan that hopefully will start on the intersection improvements in 2014 with a completion sometime in the early to mid part of 2015. We are looking at this project as being a major impact on our businesses, on our traffic flow, and on the village of Bensenville in general. If you have any questions, please feel free to call the Public Works Department at 630-350-3435. Thank you.
The Water's Edge Aquatic Center is conveniently located in the Redmond Recreational Complex in Bensenville. The Water's Edge is home of Fenton High School and Wahoo swim teams, featuring an indoor 8-lane lap pool and diving well. The Aquatic Center is available for private functions and parties. Learn to swim, stay in shape, or enjoy recreational swimming year-round at the Water's Edge Aquatic Center.
The Bensenville Community Library, serving a community of readers. Whether you're old or young, a lover of words, music, or computers, the library has something for you. Check out our new Kindles, toddler jams, story and movie nights, or a variety of other activities offered. For more information, call us at 630-766-4642 or check out our schedule on the web at benlib.org. The Bensenville Community Library, celebrating 50 years of library service.
One of Chicagoland's premier ice skating facilities, The Edge is home to the Chicago Steel and Robert Morris Eagles, featuring 3 sheets of NHL regulation size ice, offering skate programs for hockey players, figure skaters, and recreational skaters of all ages. The Edge is also available for private functions and parties accommodating from 10 to 200. Whether you're a novice or an Olympian, experience the spectacular Edge Ice Arena.
Staying connected is important, and at the Village of Bensenville, it has never been easier to keep up to date with what's happening in our community. On your phone, PDA, PC, laptop, or tablet, the Village of Bensenville website offers easy integration, so you'll stay connected at home, in the office, or on the road. To follow us on Facebook, simply go to the Bensenville homepage and click on the Facebook icon in the lower left-hand corner. This will take you to the Bensenville Facebook fan page. Once there, click the like button to add us to your newsfeed and receive regular updates from around town. To follow us on Twitter, simply go to the Bensenville homepage and click on the Twitter icon in the lower left-hand corner. This will take you to the Bensenville Twitter page. Once there, click the follow button to add us to your Twitter feed and receive regular community updates. To receive email and cell phone notifications, click on the Notify Me button. This will take you to the Notify Me dashboard. Once there, simply add your email address and/or cell phone number at the top of the page, and then select which service you would like to receive updates from. The most common update section is in the Newsflash Bensenville News. Click on the envelope icon for email alerts and on the phone icon for phone alerts. You can choose one, the other, or both. To watch our public access cable show or board meetings, simply click on the Bensenville Web TV button on the lower left sidebar menu of the homepage. This will take you to our streaming center, where you can play current and past Bensenville cable TV shows and board meetings. To pay your Bensenville utility bill online, just click the Online Payments button and then follow the instructions provided on our secure payment site. If you have any problem, concern, or question to tell the village, then click on the Bensenville Action Hotline button. This will take you to the Action Line dashboard, where you can explain your issue and receive a response within 48 hours once you have clicked the Submit button at the bottom of the page. Staying connected is important. And at the Village of Bensenville, it has never been easier to keep up to date with what's happening in our community. On your phone, PDA, PC, laptop, or tablet, the Village of Bensenville website offers easy integration, so you'll stay connected wherever you are.
Welcome back to Spotlight on Bensenville. I'm Frank Soto, your mayor, and I'm here with Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth. We've been just discussing some of the issues with the airport and noise that, it's obviously been a problem, not just in Wooddale and Bensenville, but also Wooddale, Itasca, and Elk Grove, and some of the Cook County towns as well.
Even places like Arlington Heights.
Yeah. And, people don't realize, given the distances, that would be, but it does affect them.
Yeah.
I was recently in Washington, D.C. with the National League of Cities with a program called the National Organization to Ensure Sound Control Environment. The acronym for that is NOISE. But it involves airport-related noise issues and quality of life. And one of the things that they mentioned in the short run of a way to help out is these waypoint signs that you put at the end of each runway, but at a distance out, far enough out, and at a height elevation that is different than they currently are, to help minimize the impact on the towns. Is that something the FAA has the ability to mandate?
Well, certainly. I mean, they can put that out there and allow, it just serves as a reminder to the pilots who are coming in, just as a check for them to say, oh, that's right, I need to watch out for these altitudes in this direction. So I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that.
Because I think right now we're less than 3 miles out. They don't have, I'm not sure if they have one now, but they're at 3 miles out, they're 5 miles out, they're required to be 22 feet above sea level, which when you think 5 miles away from the airport, 2,200 feet above sea level is not all that high, and allows for a pretty gradual approach or a very low approach, which tends to be one of the bigger complaint generators in our town.
That's a long, low approach. Yeah.
Yeah, very different at Midway, and that's kind of one of our concerns, is if we can do it in such a small runway. And I know I've heard Midway is like landing a plane on a postage stamp.
I've actually, most of my flying has been done at Midway Airport. I commanded the Black Hawk unit at Midway. So yes, I'm used to coming in steep and fast, so you can just get in and land, and then when you leave to pop up very high, and so that you don't bother the neighbors who are literally right across the street from the end of the runway. So
that's kind of the concept we were hoping we could work on. The other one is something as simple as what Atlanta did, is they put signs right on the runways reminding them of what they should be doing for their veering off, because right now they're veering off either to the south or the north almost as soon as they're leaving the runway. So it just kind of spreads this noise all over the town because there isn't consistency with where they're turning off, and they're not going far enough out but also high enough out as if they're taking off.
So that would be something that could be done a lot faster and easier. What you spoke about earlier would be to change the approach pattern for a particular runway, and that has to be established, tested. It also is something that has to then be verified and issued out. It's certainly something that can be done, but it's a much longer process. But I think that whatever the solution is, it's going to be a combination of things. It's going to be a combination of the easy fixes, like you said, the markings on the runway to remind folks, and then working long term towards changing what's called the STARS, the standard approaches into and departures into and out of the airport. But that's something the FAA will have to work on long term. And I don't think there's any one single solution. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's more noise proofing for people whose homes are maybe just outside the noise proofing areas right now. It's just going to involve a lot of things to and every little thing I hope will reduce it a little bit to get it to a manageable level.
You're absolutely right. There's no smoking gun on how to resolve this.
No, there's no magic wand.
So I think it requires a lot of cooperation by a number of entities, including OMP, the City of Chicago, neighboring communities, our legislators, to kind of carve out the best plan that has the least amount of impact as possible and still operate, one of the largest airports in the country.
Yep.
Well, that was one of the or a couple of the ideas. The other question I had was if, and maybe you can help me out understanding this a little bit, but Denver had won some lawsuits on violations of noise levels. What are the noise level federal violations that should be in place or could be in place that if it's violated, at least there's a course of action to punish a particular airline, for example, who may be violating that?
Well, part of it, I think, is going to involve changing those approach patterns, those approach procedures that are in place. And this is kind of a long-term thing. These things do exist. If you think about National Airport in Washington, D.C., there's a very precise flight path and noise issue there, especially with the nation's capital right off the wingtip of the aircraft. Denver has one, and that's the kind of thing that we could work towards here and get that in place. Because once it's in place, then you can actually have regulatory issues that go along with it. I don't think we have that now. But that's something that we can certainly work towards, so that we then have some sort of, a course of action that we can take if one particular airline is just repeatedly is a bad actor. We can go after that particular airline as well.
Well, I think that would be great in the sense that at least there's a policing mechanism out there. And what we've experienced a lot of times is the biggest abusers are either cargo or international flights that maybe the pilots aren't as used to flying in and out of our airport here. So when they come in, they're coming in at an extremely low approach, or they're taking off at a very low approach, and they're gone because they haven't flown into this airport very often.
Right.
So which is it harder to navigate your way through Congress or in a Black Hawk helicopter?
Well, when I was flying my Black Hawk helicopter, they gave me body armor and bullets.
They don't give you that in Capitol Hill?
No, at least give me a body armor. No, it's been interesting. I found Washington to be just as partisan as we all think it is when you see it on TV, but surprisingly very bipartisan. I've made a lot of friends that I can work with across the aisle. I've co-sponsored legislation. Every piece of legislation that I am signed on to is bipartisan. I rarely ever sign on to a letter or a new law or anything like that is only one political party. So it's a conscious effort I make to be bipartisan. And because of that, I've now gotten to know some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who are looking to do the same thing. A lot of them, it started out with us both being vets. I'll go find another vet who's a Republican, and we start talking, telling war stories, and then we say, hey, can we work on this together? And we've been able to introduce several pieces of legislation together. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can get things done. It may not always look that way, but there's a lot of us who are at the lower level, the grunts, as you might want to call us, who are in there every day just trying to do our best.
I don't know how you do it out there, because with the level of just the perceived polar opposites out there, that how you can even navigate that. And I think it's a testament to your ability to work with people of all, whether or not you're a Democrat, Republican, a moderate, a liberal, or a libertarian, if I'm getting them all, that you're able to kind of cross those lines and work with everybody. And it's wonderful to see that in Congress right now.
Thank you. You just have to remember it's not about yourself. I think sometimes people get to Washington and they forget that this is about the community, and it's not about them as a congressperson. The very first bill I signed on to try to co-sponsor was actually one that was introduced by Peter Roskam. And we had a very, very contentious race back in 2006, but his bill would actually go after the waste, fraud, and abuse that's in Medicare. Now, we approach Medicare from different sides. He wants, my understanding is he wants to privatize it. I want to save it and make sure it's there the way it is in the long run. But we can both agree that there's a lot of waste in Medicare. So we're going to work together to get rid of the waste. And that's the kind of thing where you can find common ground, even with someone that you don't philosophically agree with on everything. The key is just to put your own ego aside and figure out what do we need to do for our community, and roll up your sleeves and get to work on it.
That's a breath of fresh air. It's something that I think has been lost for a little while. That used to be pretty common that there was so much respect by both parties. Even if you disagreed, they could still shake hands, and they were still friends afterwards. That it seems maybe since, I don't know if it's been since the 90s on, that it seems like we've gone away from that to some respects.
I think at the national level, but I gotta tell you, at the local level, I haven't found it that way because, a majority, for my district, a majority of my mayors are Republicans or independents. They're not Democrats. And yet, I work great with all of my mayors. All of my mayors, I've never had a mayor that I picked up the phone to call and say, hey, what do you need for your community? What can I do? How can I serve you? Do you need help getting flood assistance? Do you need, me to write a letter of recommendation for a federal grant? What do you need me to do? Every mayor has answered my call, has talked to me, because mayors are pragmatic people. You guys are all about solving the problems here locally, and frankly, I don't think you can afford the time and effort to be partisan, because you got too much on your hands here in the local community. And so I have to say, yeah, the partisanship may happen at the top end of the political spectrum, but at the local level, when you got to get things done, I think we can work together.
You're absolutely right with that. Mayors, I've never really seen a situation where partisan ever was an issue in a mayor issue. Everybody they're issue related, they're town related. In fact, the concerns in Bensenville are more aligned with some of the concerns of Wooddale, Franklin Park, North Lake, than it is with maybe Lyle or Naperville. So we've always been issue-related individuals,
Right.
and I also think on the state level we don't see as much of it. That at least it's perceived in Washington.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. We're running out of time. I could talk to you for hours, especially on a national level, because I do read, I do watch a lot of what goes on in Washington, and it's certainly a concern for everybody here. I'm glad you're out there watching out for us, and I hope you're going to be here for the music in the park. And come on out. We would love to have you for 4th of July or any other event that you could make it to. I think your assistance today, working with a lot of our residents, is greatly appreciated. The work that you've done with the veterans in our town is very appreciated as well.
you.
So thank you again for being out here.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching tonight with Spotlight on Bensenville. And special guest, our special thank you to our honored guest, Tammy Duckworth, our Congresswoman. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.